Please start.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Please start. Please start.
Please
Are you
start,
able
sir.
to- Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Vinvestnath, please start.
My humble regards to Dr. Sri Padmanabh Rao Garu and her daughter Sailaja, and good wishes to all the students. And regards to others, if anybody is there in the meeting. I'm very fortunate enough to be with all of you in this session in order to have a glance of our Indian Noble Constitution.
Here we go.
Shall I continue?
Please continue.
I say our constitution is noble for several reasons. Because our constitution is the longest and adopted many countries' legal and other constitutions. And it is framed by the freedom fighters after a lot of discussion in the Constitutional Assembly. Today, I am joining with you not as a lecturer or in order to give any lecture to you, but just to share the happiness of understanding what is the Constitution and make it as a useful lecture for you in order to face the competitive exams. If we want to know and understand our Constitution, the history of the Constitution is very important. Before going into the history of the Constitution, I would like to impress upon you 2 or 3 important aspects, and afterwards I'll be able to divide my discussion with you in 3 parts. One is origin of the Constitution and 40 years background trade to making of the Constitution, and then Constitution, preamble, fundamental rights, and directive principles of state policy. This is the second part. And the third and important part is about the decisions of the Honorable Supreme Court and High Courts about how the rights of the fundamental rights and other constitutional rights and legal rights are interpreted and implemented in our country. So just to impress upon you, I am reading certain important information to you. Our constitution is the longest constitution in the world, obvious from the fact that we are so diverse and it had to be longest one. If you look into the preamble of the Constitution, you will find that it is finely worded and mention the aspirations of the people of our country. All the parts, articles, clauses, schedules, amendments, whatever our constitution strive to achieve are, in broad sense, if you look into 3 important aspects: supremacy of the Constitution, rule of law, the principle of separation of powers. When we look into the first one, we can understand that nobody can say, I am supreme in our country. Even the Prime Minister or President of India, they can't say I am supreme. Only the Constitution is supreme. Likewise, the second principle, rule of law. No one is above the law, and everyone shall be treated equal before the law. Then third and most important is the concentration of powers is not vested in at one place. We have three wings, that is legislature, executive, and judiciary, and each of them have powers over each other to control their actions. What is the mechanism which we adopted to achieve the goals of the Constitution is, we want to achieve the goal of welfare state. Welfare state through the mechanism of democracy. Welfare state means where the people will have all rights, including the food, shelter, and freedom of speech. This is in jest of the Constitution. As I said earlier, I am making my discussion with you three parts. The first part is the origin of the Constitution. The second part is preamble, fundamental rights, and fundamental duties. The third part is about the interpretation of the law and the decisions and other things. Let us look at the origin of the Constitution. If you want to understand the origin of the Constitution, you must read 40 years before its enactment by keeping your soul and heart there. Why I say is because the freedom fighters of the Constitution, they sacrificed their lives, and they sacrificed what not. They do not know that they're going to get freedom. So if you're reading or understanding the history of the Constitution stretching to over 40 years before the enactment of Constitution, it means you are reading or looking the lives of great freedom fighters, especially Mahatma Gandhi ji, Nehru, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and many more. I can say, if you want to read the Constitution, if you read the lives of any one freedom fighter who fought for the rights, then it means you have understood and read the Constitution. The world marvels at how well the Indian Constitution has kept a diverse country together for more than 70 years. 70 years or 71 years are passed, and our diverse country is kept together. It's because of the Constitution. If you look at the history, you can understand that our Constitution, after Constituent Assembly discussion, working flat out in just 2 years, 11 months and 17 days, could prepare this great document. In fact, the Constitution's long history stretches to over 40 years before its enactment, going all the way back to the Indian Councils Act 1909. Unless and until we understand what is called Indian Councils Act of 1909, going back to 40 years, and understand why and what happened, what is the reason for compelling the British government to give to us this noble Constitution, we will not be able to understand the Constitution. The roundtable conferences are very important. After we look into the Indian Councils Act of 1909, we can start our journey about the origin of the Constitution. This law, this Indian Councils Act of 1909, for the first time brought Indians into governance at central and provincial levels, albeit in a very limited way, through a highly restricted and unprecedented electorate split on communal lines. This first act, Indian Councils Act of 1909, has highly restricted and unrepresentative electorate split on communal lines. This is the important of this act. The Government of India Act 1990, after 10 years, this act has come into force, is a vast improvement on the Indian Councils Act, but remained unrepresented. We earlier said that highly restricted and unrepresentative electorate split on communal lines. The same is the case in the Government of India Act 1990 also. This act also persisted with communal representation, which had earlier been endorsed by the Congress and the Muslim League through the Lucknow Pact of 1960. So, during these 10 years from 1909 to 1919, we had Lucknow Pact of 1916, which is endorsed by the Congress Party and the Muslim League. Then we have to go to 1930 report about the Simon Commission. This Simon Commission constituted to evaluate the Government of India Act 1919 recommended much greater Indian involvement in the governance of the country. This is the importance. From 1919 to 1930, if you look at it, the freedom fight is very, very strong. On one side, Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, who are believed in peaceful protest, were very influential. They could gather large people of the country, and international support was there. Apart from that, there was an armed struggle that would follow possibly under a leadership like great Subhash Chandra Bose. So this is the situation due to which this 1930 Simon Commission and Government of India Act of 1919 is again came into force by giving greater Indian involvement in the governance of the country. After Simon Commission's report, there were extraordinary roundtable conferences in 1930, 1931 and 32. They were held in London to see how best Indians could administer their country. If you look at the deliberations in these three conferences, that is roundtable conferences, you can understand the deliberations in these conferences brought out the concerns of different communities, especially the depressed classes, for which the great leader Ambedkar was the de facto leader, and Muslims led by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And you know very well that except the second conference which Gandhi attended, the other two were boycotted by the Congress. So out of these three roundtable conferences, only one roundtable conference, that is second conference, was attended by Gandhi, and there was no representation by Congress in these other two conferences because the Congress boycotted these roundtable conferences. You know very well, Mahatma Gandhi attended the second roundtable conference without even wearing the shirt, and the story about all that. So these conferences really had given voice to the other interested groups representing women and Anglo-Indians and led to the passage of the Government of India Act 1935. So this Government of India Act 1935 is very, very important act. When you look into the roundtable conferences and passing of this Government of India Act 1935, you will understand that several issues were discussed. That is federalism, civil services, regional representation, fundamental rights, and universal adult franchise, and many more. Even the linguistic states and reservation emerged from these discussions during those roundtable conferences. The Constitution Assembly, which constituted for making the Constitution, closely and logically went into these deliberations and discussions held in these three roundtable conferences. We say Ambedkar is the father of the Constitution because his brilliant interventions in the Constitutional Assembly discussions, for example, were the outcome of the understanding he had developed of many issues discussed in Simon Commission proceedings and the three roundtable conferences which he attended. The roundtable conferences is a distinct feature which as adopted by the British government towards India. It did not do so in case of other countries. It has done in case of India only, recognizing that influential leaders, the great leaders, they were fighting for autonomy. They were fighting for the freedom, and there is any chance for their succeeding in their attempts otherwise than giving the freedom to our country by the British government after close discussions, after framing and passing of the 1935 Act. So when we look into all these things, including the roundtable conferences and the Government of India 1935 Act, and then Constitutional Assembly discussions, and then making our Constitution, we can understand that we must be proud that the Constitutional Assembly were willing to incorporate the best from anywhere, whether they were ideas from our former colonialists or in the case of the directive principles of state policy borrowed from the Irish Constitution. We borrowed the directive principles of state policy from Irish Constitution. So these things will show that while drafting our Constitution, we have the experience of different constitutions in the world and functioning and administrating of these constitutions in those countries, and what are the defects and how best we can draft our Constitution in order to make India to develop and compete with other countries. Let us look at the Constitution after understanding these 40 years struggle and forming of or facing of several difficulties and finally making the constitution. Why we need constitution? We need constitution in order to administer the country by the state or center. And what are the duties and rights of each system and the persons working in this system. Unless and until we understand the rights and duties of the citizens and how they will be governed by the officers of the government and what are the powers to them and what laws they make and how they administer the laws, we can say that there is no law in the country. Likewise, our constitution really a functional and dynamic constitution. If the constitution is not there, then how we can govern our country? While we were looking at only 40 years, we ought to go a little bit earlier happenings. In 1858, British started governing our country, basing on their laws. Only in 1950, our constitution has come into force. Before that, we don't have any constitution. Even before British ruling our country in 1858, what was there? East India Company was there. East India Company was ruling our country with some rules and conditions imposed by East India Company. So with this background, I can say that now I completed the 40 years journey or origin about the origin of the constitution. Rather, I started and explained to you how the constitution has come, starting from 1773, East India Company, and in 1858, British starting administering our country. Then let us look at our constitution. Our constitution is a written constitution. There are countries where there are no constitutions at all. Let us look into Britain. It has no written constitution, but it has constitution. Like in Britain, in Canada, New Zealand, Israel, there are no written constitution. But in New Zealand, for the sake of administration, there is an explanation by written law about what is country and what rights the citizens are having, and also some other conditions and impositions and other things. In case of Israel, there is no written constitution, but in 1950, June 30, there was Harari announcement as per which the Israel country is administrating their country. If there are no written constitutions, then the country is run as per the customs. Which is the first constitution in the world? If you look at it, it is American Constitution. In 1788, June 21, America passed its constitution. In 1787, it has got freedom from British. Thereafter, American Constitution is adopted. That is the first written constitution. Likewise, if you look into our constitution, we can understand that it has got 444 articles 22 divisions and 12 schedules. 1,46,385 words are used. Which is the shortest constitution in the world is, it is the Constitution of Monaco. In that constitution, only 3,800 words are there. Likewise, our constitution is flexible. We can amend the constitution as per Article 368, giving power to the Parliament for making amendments. You can amend the constitution to any extent. 123 times, to my knowledge, there were amendments of our constitution, making 103 amendments. Both the, that is, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha passed those bills, and President of India signed. Our constitution gives power to make new other, some other constitution also in the place of it. Our constitution has come into force after the constitution is passed in the Parliament. You see, look at Italy. In 1947, December 22, it has started or passed a new constitution. Like in Germany, 1949, on 8th day, new constitution has come into force. There is no person or authority in our constitution who can say, I am the boss, I am above this constitution and all this. I give some information to you that our constitution is written in English and copy of it is prepared in Hindi, and original constitution prepared in English and the copy of it in Hindi, they are kept in Parliament Bhavan at Delhi and secured in helium chemical without getting any damage to it. This is all about our constitution in respect of origin of the history and other things. And we have looked into 60 countries' constitutions, 114 days, by spending 64 lakhs as an expenditure. This constitution is prepared. Unity and integrity of the nation and the balance between fundamental rights and directive principles and the parliamentary system of government with the independence of the judiciary and for conducting the principles of free and fair elections, our constitution is made. Directive principles of the state policy are the guiding principles to states and center, which are to be followed while making the policies. Under the constitution, we have got three wings: legislative, executive, and judicial. Under legislative, we have president and then parliament and Rajya Sabha. In executive, we have prime minister and the council of ministers. In a judicial wing, highest court is Supreme Court. Then under it, high courts in several states, and under it, district courts and other important courts to implement the law. And then we have to see how many articles are there and how many schedules are there and how they are functioning and what are the differences between the directive principles of state policy and fundamental rights. Before going into it, I am now explaining to you the silent features of Indian Constitution. First and foremost thing is it is the longest written constitution. It has got rigidity and flexibility. I say rigidity because sometimes it is very difficult to do anything under this constitution. For example, if we want to take action against a Supreme Court judge or Chief Justice of Supreme Court, very lengthy procedure is there. Likewise, it is very flexible that Parliament can make any law. Then the other silent features are we have only single citizenship. Of course, now dual citizenship for NRIs under consideration and doing something in that form. We have fundamental rights, that is another silent features, fundamental duties, directive principles of state policy, independent judiciary, integrated judicial system, universal adult franchise, the federal structure of government, parliamentary form of government. Then we have emergency provisions. You know about imposition of emergency during the regime of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi after she lost her election due to the striking down by the judgment of the Uttar Pradesh and then making her not eligible for 6 years to contest in the elections. Then systems of local self-government, attention to scheduled areas, autonomy provisions to some states. When we look into our constitution, before 44th Amendment, there were 7 fundamental rights. After this amendment, the right to property was removed. What are the important fundamental rights? Before looking into the fundamental rights, let us see what is the preamble. Who has made this preamble? Now, first part is over. I'm going to second part. That is the preamble of the Constitution of India 1950. We the people of India. So, who made this constitution is, though practically it is the discussion in the Constitution Assembly and then adopting it by the then governments. But in fact, we have mentioned it, the people of India have passed this constitution by resolving it solemnly to constitution India into a sovereign socialist democratic republic. Later we have added secular and other things. So what for this? This constitution is made to secure to all its citizens justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and to promote among them all. Fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. 26th day of November 1949, in the Constitution Assembly, this constitution is adopted by enacting it and giving it to ourselves to this this constitution. We have several parts. I am not going into the part 1 and part 2, which you can read and understand. I am going into part 3. This is very important. Why it is important? Because rights which are fundamental and basic rights which our freedom fighters were not having during the British regime are given to us. Each right, when you look into it, it is a part of the story of the freedom fight. The first right is Article 12. It defines what is state. You can read and understand. Article 13 says all the laws which are inconsistent and in derogation of fundamental rights, then those laws are unconstitutional. They are not in force. And we have an amendment in 1971 of Article 13 by adding Article 13 clause 4, from which we made that this particular Article 13 is not applicable for the amendments which we make as per Article 368. So these two we can read and understand. Now let us,
Shall we join again, sir? This meeting will end. Shall we join again?
yes, madam.
Yeah, yes, sir. Please, dear students, please join again.